we've gotten off to a running start. You know, I feel like somebody's chasing me all day. The staff, they laugh at me because they say I never stop. But, you know, I think in my sleep, I get up in the middle of the night, I write notes, I send emails, I send text messages, because I think that this is a great opportunity for our team to go in and really to affect the type of change that I believe we can affect, you know, in a positive way at Grambling State University. And so with the university and an institution so deeply rooted in history and the tradition, our forefathers deserve that. And so we're going to do everything we can to uphold that tradition and to really extend that legacy as long as we can.
On that note, once again, Dr. Scott, appreciate you coming on. Congratulations again on your new position. And if there's anything that I can do in the Carlos Brown Show as far as getting information out for you, hey, count me in. You know where to find me.
Thank you for having me. Go Tigers.
All right. Yep. Go Tigers. Yep. Keeping it in the state, folks. But enjoy the rest of your weekend, Dr. Scott, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Looking forward to it. Have a good weekend.
All right. Thank you. That was Dr. Trayvean Scott, Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics at Grambling State University. I did not say Southern, not even being facetious, but it is what it is. He's going to be missed, and this is just my personal opinion, and he'll do well at Grambling State University. We'll take a quick time out. When I come back, Brandon B.J. Jones of the forthcoming show, the B.J. Jones Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network, joins me next. And then following B.J. Jones will be Charles Edmond of Braves Talk, joining the Black College Sports Network family. Both of those guests are coming up. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. I'll be right back.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Both of my great-grandfathers have been a part of that study. My roots in environmental health come from my great-grandfathers. They were sharecroppers, and then later they were able to own land for their family for generations to come. My ancestors' connection to the land has given me a strong care for our environment and how that environment influences human health. I am a fierce advocate for equitable treatment for all. The ways in which COVID-19 ravaged Black communities showed that we have underlying vulnerabilities when something like a pandemic hits. The path from tragedy to triumph travels along the path of learning.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, trying to get down.
When you're looking Looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics? There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. My college football analyst joins me now, Brandon B.J. Jones of the B.J. Jones Show, forthcoming here on the Black College Sports Network. B.J., good, can I say good morning or good afternoon? I got to remember what time zone you're in. Is it good morning?
It's afternoon here, man. 13 minutes after 12. So, yeah, afternoon.
Eastern time, BJ. I could never get used to it, but glad to have you on today's show. And I just want to jump right into it. I'm always intrigued by this group that never gets the credit that they should, and that's the offensive line.
Yep.
Kind of tell me what stands out about in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, some of the units that you think will be up front, some of the best in the conference.
So I think the best unit in the conference resides right there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And that's the group from Southern. You got that group with Carter, Williams, and Bishop. That offensive line, if you look at the all-conference team, they're scattered all over it. They do a great job. They dominate up front. They move people. They do a good job as far as protecting the passer. They do both. And I think when you talk about the next best offensive line, it's at Arkansas Pine Bluff. You look at what they're able to do from that standpoint. Remember, Jordan Lewis didn't have a spectacular game against Arkansas Pine Bluff. They protected Skylar Perry and kept him upright pretty much that whole ball game. Now, they're not as dominant as a unit in the run blocking department. They're still pretty solid. They are still pretty solid. In the young unit down at Alabama State, we're talking about having 4 redshirt freshmen across the board and a sophomore. You look at what they were able to do during the spring season. I think that's another offensive line unit to definitely look at. Traditionally, Alcorn is in that group, but they're doing a lot of replacing up front. But traditionally they're there, and I'm really comfortable with the guys that they've recruited to plug into those positions to say that they'll kind of keep the train rolling. And Alabama A&M, say what you will, but they keep Akil Glass's his uniform pretty clean. And Gary Quarles, the running back, when he needs to, they open up some holes for him too. So I think that those are going to be your top units in the conference. I also wouldn't sleep on Florida A&M's offensive line or Bethune-Cookman's either.
Because BJ, when I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, when I think of physical offensive, and I know that's just a physical position, right? Mm-hmm. But you think about Southern University, but also Bethune-Cookman, Alcorn, and FAMU. And I'm basing this on just from, before the pandemic started. They were very physical offensive unit. And just because a unit, say, is pass happy offensively, they still will have to be physical, and you still have to be able to run the ball. Can you, when it's late in the ball game and it's 3rd and 3 or 4, and you choose to run the football, are you successful doing that? But FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, the physical units in the conference.
Yeah. And one of the things about it, you talk about, pass happy. This Alabama A&M, they go pass happy. But when you look at that Arkansas Pine Bluff ball game, look at that Jackson State ball game, when it was time to run the football, they were able to do it, and they were able to do it with a lot of success. And that's going to be key with Alabama A&M. Having that offensive line, being able to do that this fall would be monumental. It would help a lot as far as them being able to repeat as champion.
Because I would think in the fall, because of the success in the spring, Akil Glass and that whole unit, they're going to be marked. And to me, and if I'm getting what you're saying, being balanced, or for them being able to run the football, that will kind of take some of the pressure off their passing game.
And I think Alabama A&M will run the football. They may not run it that much because they have so many weapons on the offensive side of the football, and they've added weapons to the offensive side of the football. As far as the receivers, Ibrahim and Brian Jenkins Jr., Zay Moore, Kendrick Johnson. They had a transfer, former LSU kid. I mean, they are just loaded. They got a lot of toys on the outside to play with. I expect Coach Maynard and that offensive staff to play with those toys. But them being able to run the football in crucial positions, that's what's going to help that offense.
Well said, BJ, because it's called the red zone, but I call it the man zone. Can you get those 3 or 4 tough yards, or even 2 yards? But we'll see. I'm sure they will want to be able to have a better effect. They'll be even better in the run game. Now, BJ, I'm gonna tap into your expertise. You're a former college athlete, and with fall camp, how important is preparation for the football players? I talked about it with AD earlier. Back in the day, you could come to camp to get in shape. No, that's a no-no now. So the preparation, day one, you have to be in shape, and they test you to find out how you've been doing up until that point. But just kind of talk about that from your experience. How important is preparation for football players and relate your experience coming into fall camp?
Hey, man, I'm gonna tell you like this, man. When you have camp in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and that humidity and heat is kicking, you want to make sure that you are already ready to go before you get there. If you start camp and you have to get ready, you're setting yourself behind. Everyone knows that first day conditioning test. Those 110s and having those big trash cans outside, outlining the field, and those for you to throw up. And even when you're in shape, the people who are in the best of shape struggle with those 110s. You definitely don't want to be behind because, man, it's so fast paced when you get into camp. And if you're not in shape, man, you're going to be so far behind, man. And it's going to be, camp's going to be halfway done before you get to where you need to be physically, is from a conditioning standpoint. So, if you want to compete for a job, you got to make sure that you're there, not only in the weight room, but as far as your conditioning. Conditioning is so important at the college game. I remember my high school coach telling us, hey, conditioning is key. When you get to college, conditioning is key. And I remember that first conditioning test, it would really have you questioning, is this really what I want to do? Should I call back to the house and, kind of tell them, I'm wasn't cut out for this. Because it is a whole different level. It will have you thinking, are we playing football or is this the track thing? You're doing that much, running and putting your body through stuff. And man, I don't miss that part. I don't miss that part at all.
I understand. And as far as nutrition, what would a typical athlete eat for breakfast? I'm intrigued by that, but knowing that you're going into the heat and humidity, and I understand it's hot through the SWAC geographical blueprint, but what did BJ Jones have as far as a typical breakfast and hydrating? And then I'm gonna come back and follow that up with after practice.
All right, so one of the things I always make sure that I got in the mornings, no matter if I ate cereal or if I did something light, maybe a little bit of toast jelly, I always make sure that I got in 2 bananas. Got the bananas in, or a banana and an apple. And my preparation for camp started a month before camp. I would have a couple of weeks where, you go back home for a little bit for a couple of weeks. You eat your McDonald's and your pizza and all of that. But once we got inside of those 30 days, I cut off all soft drinks, no sodas, very little sugar, kind of limited the carbs, just really focus on, man, getting a lot of fruits, getting a lot of vegetables in you, making sure that you're drinking. I used to drink anywhere between 108, 120 ounces of water a day. Just get your body accustomed to that, man. So a lot of water, a lot of fruits, You don't want to go too heavy. You can go heavy at night. That's when you start seeing the spaghettis, the lasagnas, and things of that nature. But during the day, you want to kind of go, kind of light. You don't want to go through practices feeling heavy or sluggish. But you also want to make sure you're giving your body what you need, because it wasn't strange to see a guy come into camp. He may start camp at 210 or 212 and end camp around 198. So you had to make sure being transitioning for me from the defensive back position to the linebacker position. They wanted weight on me. So I had to make sure that I was not only, like I said, eating light, but then eating heavy at night. And you'll be surprised. Your coaches know what you need to do. Your coaches, know what you need to do. Zeus will tell you, hey, I know you guys are going out and drinking. You might want to start off with some light, and then after that, just go bud heavy after that. Even small things like that, as far as making sure you're maintaining your weight and keeping your weight up and so forth.
Very interesting, because I'm sure if I asked you, did you ever see any players have a big no-no, eat something before practice, and you could have easily identified the players that did that? I know at a fall camp under Coach Richardson, Coach Richardson, mild-mannered guy, quiet, but boy, he was in an uproar because some of the old linemen didn't do what they were supposed to do, and you could tell within, I guess, the second or third period of practice, they were bent over, and it needless to say, he was not a happy camper. Now, after a hard practice, and then I'm sure in between two-a-days, what does a player typically do? Does he just hydrate afterwards and then just, I know I didn't like to eat that much because you're just drained, but kind of walk us through that after practice, I guess, say after a one-day practice and you're done with.
Well, right after practice, the first thing you're seeing is everybody jumping in those ice baths, those big pails that were filled with ice. And it's just to rejuvenate your body, get your legs and everything back under you. If it was a two-a-day, you'll see me get that that ice bath, get something to eat and then rest. We saw a lot of guys around the football complex, and it's amazing during camp. You can sleep anywhere. You find a dummy, throw something over it, you sleep on that dummy, and it's like the best sleep that you ever had. And then get readjusted, ready for meetings, and getting ready to go back out for the the second practice later on that that evening. So that's pretty much it in the lights. If it's a one day, like I say, hit the ice bath, making sure that you're hydrating, getting something to eat. And really you want to rest. They really stress the importance of getting enough rest during camp, because usually camp, man, your days are structured from 6 a.m. To 10 o'clock at night, and you get it. You get into that routine and that rotation of what you're supposed to do. And I'm a little bit jealous because these kids here, they don't have back-to-back two-a-days. The NCAA has cut down on a lot of things that we used to have that they don't do anymore. So camp is light now compared to what it was, back in those days when Coach Richardson was there. But for us, man, it was literally making sure you get rest, making sure that you're studying that playbook, making sure you're getting that classroom time, and doing the things that's going to help set you apart on the field. One of the things about college, a lot of people say, I have this kid from my high school, from my town, and the kid is everything athletically, but they couldn't get to work in the classroom. I'm not talking about the academic classroom. I'm talking about the football classroom. Where am I supposed to be if this man goes in motion? If this man goes in motion, if the tight end lines up here, then now what do I have? A lot of people struggle with that, and that's something that sets you apart at the college level as well.
Interesting. I've been told that Coach Rollins at Southern University, they have a football class, coming up to fall camp, and I guess they'll continue it, but where you actually get in and what you address, kind of go over those things. Not saying that that's new to college football, but that's new. I don't remember that happening under Coach Odoms, but if I'm wrong about that, I'm sure someone will correct me on that. With that being said, my third topic I wanted to cover with you, And teams under the most pressure. Now, wait a minute, pressure. Everybody's under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm asking the analysts, the teams that are really under the most pressure to be successful this 2021 fall season. Who are they, BJ?
All right, so these the names here might shock you a little bit. I think one of the teams that's up under a lot of pressure is Prairie View. Talent-wise, Prairie View has had one of the better teams in the conference for the last 2 to 3 years. I could make an argument that Prairie View has had the best talent in the conference, top to bottom, probably especially 2019. When you look at what they had with Dumas and Jalen Morton at the quarterback position, the running back, that they had, and the receivers on the outside, Prairie View had tremendous talent. Now, they didn't really translate into the wins and loss column the way that it should, but they had the talent. Another team on that list is right there in Baton Rouge, Southern University. Southern is stocked with talent, and the problem that you run with Southern is if you don't get that title this year, there's almost a hard reset on that roster. You lose a lot, especially defensively. Ladarius Skelton is one of those other kids you lose. Papillon in the secondary, McCain at the receiver position. There's a lot that you lose. To be right there on the cusp of a title and not get it the last 3 seasons when you throw in the spring, it's almost a hard reset. So I think that Southern's under a lot of pressure. Arkansas Pine Bluff, they bring back a lot of talent. They're disrespected, and if they don't get to a certain level, people are going to start wondering, is it ever going to happen for Arkansas Pine Bluff? Can they consistently have a solid program? So I think that's another football team that's under a lot of pressure. And then I'm going to say Alcorn State. Alcorn State going to the East and the West. Their quarterback made the statement. It's going to start in Atlanta and finish in Atlanta. That's the headline that's going to be across a lot of locker rooms. They have a lot of talent. There was a lot of, a little fuss about Alabama A&M winning in the spring and how they felt with someone else with our trophy. This is personal in that football team.
That's interesting. I got a chance to talk to Felix Harper, and I identified myself, okay, and I said, "Do you want to? You spoke about starting in A, ending in A. Do you regret saying that?" And he basically, the explanation he gave to me was he's from the Atlanta area, which is true. It's fact. He's from the area, and he said he didn't mean it to be more than what it was. But I told him, do you understand how, you can take something somebody said, like, for example, over the years, I've been in radio, television, what have you, and someone could make a tape of just make a tape of some of the controversial things I've said and put that all together and replay that. I wouldn't even like myself, but they don't take the whole context of what was said. They just, sliced up some audio. And so he basically told me that he didn't mean to be disrespectful for that, but I just told him, that's going to be bulletin board material, and he understood that. So that's interesting. Yeah. But a nice young man. I talked to him for about 20 minutes, and other things I won't share on this show, what I asked him about as far as, and I identified myself as a Southern alum, and he just had a smile. And so I'll stop there, BJ. I won't share other conversation we have. But now, continue, BJ. I apologize for cutting you off or interrupting you.
And you're right, man. Felix Harper is a great kid, man. Humble. He's one of I like him. He's one of the kids I root for. Got one more team on that list, and that's going to be Jackson State. Jackson State did a hard reset on that roster. Literally cleaned house. Brought in a lot of kids. There's a lot of pressure on that football team because if that doesn't work out, people gonna start looking at the head, man. So I think that's another football team with a lot of pressure. You heard what their quarterback said at media day, talking about headlines. You kind of saw the exit of a lot of key players there. Dalen Baldwin and the likes. Um, yeah, it, for the mass exodus and the bringing the kids in and the 4 stars and this person is this star and did XYZ. At some point, that has to translate into results. And during the spring, all we heard was wait until the fall. Well, now the fall is here; it's upon us. And if that doesn't translate to wins, then some people are going to have some questions about the head man as well as the entire staff.
It could be easy for me to take a shot because BJ, and most of the audience know how I feel the games that will get the adrenaline flowing for as me at Southern Jackson State because their fan base are mirror each other. But yeah, you basically mentioned just about all of the teams. So it is pressure.
Yeah.
And exactly, because every week, can you see yourself going on a 2-game losing streak? Pretty much you may be out of it.
Yeah.
And I point back to FAMU and Jackson State right off the bat. Pressure to win that game.
Yeah. Someone's going to be 0-1 in the conference after week 1, and that's a division game. So you're basically going to be 2 games behind before we even get to the second week of September.
Why they get paid the big bucks? You are a CEO of those programs, and man, but from a fan standpoint, show host, it's an exciting time. You literally have a war every week, and who will accomplish their goals and benchmarks? It's going to be a fun season. Pressure, BJ. Injuries are part of the game. You're hopeful that nobody has any major injuries. And as I close with you on this, how important will those battles in fall camp be for the number 2 unit? Most coaches know and identify the first unit, but who, if an injury happens, can step into that limelight and be comfortable and adjust as quickly?
Very key. You saw injuries decimate some teams and then impact their play. You see some teams that didn't have a drop off. Southern had a drop off immediately against Arkansas Pine Bluff when they lost some players. But once that young talent was able to get some time, you saw them rolling. It's kind of scary. So put that one in the back of your mind. But you saw some teams like once they lost that one unit, the twos weren't there like they should have been. It is very important. You are a snap away from being the man. That's why it's very important while you're in camp, making sure you're paying attention, making sure you're not, having side conversations because you are one play away before, until your team is depending on you. And if you, depth is going to be so valued so much in this conference. If you don't have the depth, there's no way for you to engineer this conference and get to where you ultimately want to be. There's just too many teams, too much talent. So the teams that have the most depth, they're going to have the leg up as far as making it and hosting that game or playing in that game in December. And I'm talking about both of them, SWAC Championship as well as the Celebration Bowl.
Yeah, man. You're absolutely right. Well, VJ, we appreciate the information and your insight and perspective. We'll do it again next week. We'll find another position to kind of look at. But, boy, you're excited. What, Alcorn State, North Carolina Central in what, about 3 weeks? Week 0?
Yeah, I think, no, that's 2 weeks away.
Oh, my. Man, I'm trying to slow them down.
2 weeks. Yeah, almost 2 weeks away, yeah.
We're going to visit with Charles Edmond next, and Alcorn State is, I think, in day 7 or something like that. As far as their fall camp, we'll kind of get some information on Alcorn and see where they're at. Again, with them, BJ and FAMU, Bethune-Cookman. And I remember what you said when I had you on the show in the spring. That's during the pandemic. Now, 2 years. Is that a legitimate concern if you're alums or a fan of the conference, that how quickly those teams who hadn't played in 2 years, how quickly will they be able to adjust and get back into the swing of things? That's going to be a big, big question, how quickly they do that, BJ.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That note, enjoy the rest of your weekend in the hot A-Town. Appreciate you, and we'll talk again next week.
All right, appreciate you, Carlos.
All right, that was BJ Jones of the BJ Jones Show, coming very shortly on the Black College Sports Network. Take a quick time out. When I return, I'll visit with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, and then joining us about halfway through that segment will be A.D. Drew of Black College Sports Wrap. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network.
Can I get the now bar, please? $1. Have a good one. Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure. $1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Let's get back to getting ticks instead of watching flicks. Before we can safely get out there, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your crew.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN SportsWrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN SportsWrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
You're looking for the latest information on
Can I get
Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network. You're looking for
to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, watched exclusively right now on the Black College Sports Network. I'm now joined by my colleague, friend, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fine. Congratulations. Now you're part also of the Black College Sports Network. What is it, Brave Talk? Is that the title of it?
Yeah, Brave Talk. Brian Fulford just kind of kicked around a name, and we came up with Brave Talk with Charles Edmond, and I said, why not? Let's roll with it.
Well, it will be an Alcorn State conversation, particularly on the athletic side. So welcome to the family. Hashtag Team Black College Sports Network. How you like that, Charles?
I love it. I just want to give thanks to A.D. Drew and as well as Brian Fulford and Roy Evans for giving me this opportunity to be a part of something that's pretty good. You know, the first time I saw the Black College Sports Network, they did a game over in Texas, professionally done. And I thought I really want to be a part of that organization. And I thank you for some of the Carlos as well, because you helped turn me on to them. And, my first opportunity to work with them was over in Montgomery, Alabama, the Black College World Series. And that was a long day. That first day we worked, it was like a 15-hour day from 8 a.m. to like 11:30 at night. So it was, I was broken in pretty good on that first day, but I knew it was something I wanted to do, and I knew I was a part of something that was a pretty good organization. So I'm really appreciative of it.
And HBCU athletics, Black College sports, I'll just say this. My colleagues, we've been in the game a good while. We're not just, Johnny come latelys. And so there's a respect that you have to have in this profession and covering HBCU sports. And no one can tell the story better than we can. And so I'll leave it at that. So welcome aboard. Glad to have you on. Now, Charles, you know what I'm going to ask, and I'm going to get into it. Some people have said you are obsessed with Alcorn State. I wonder why. But Alcorn State has started fall camp for football. We kind of want to get your perspective on the opening days of camp at Alcorn State.
Well, the first week is in the books, and I have to say that this Braves team is flying around. I mean, there's no rust. They're excited about being out there and getting ready for the fall. Enthusiastic about it. Talking with some of our coaches, including our OC, Elliot Radden, he was kind of concerned before camp started of being a little bit too jacked up, too fired up. But that hasn't been the case. I think Mother Nature has caused a lot of this with the heat. You have to temper your energy. You have to be able to be consistent with your energy and dealing with the heat, continue to be hydrated. But the first week of camp, didn't see any injuries. I didn't see any of those things that you typically would see. But this team is very respectful of what's happening here. They're very respectful of the fact that, they have a short window to get ready for the first game. Because remember now, we open up on the 28th. We open up week 0, not week 1. So you have to be focused right off the bat. And from what I saw out at practice this week, the team was bouncing around. The coach, everybody was just happy to be out there, happy to get ready for a season. Remember, we didn't play in the spring. So I think everyone's just ready to go. Felix Harper looks good with Charles Pringle, one of the top receivers in the conference. Looks good at defense, flying around, making some plays, especially in the secondary. And we're going to have very much a pretty good kicking game as well. And I'm looking forward to really working with that and seeing how that goes.
I had BJ Jones on earlier, and we kind of talked about a concern, and maybe you won't have the same concern. You kind of mentioned about the rust factor. Alcorn, fam, you hadn't played in pretty much two years. Where do you see this team early on in camp? Did the coaches even talk about being off for almost 2 years, or was it just an opportunity? Hey, we're back. We've had a spring practice. Now we have a fall camp. Let's kind of do the things that we're accustomed to do, and that's winning football games. And then 2, behind that, Charles, expectations. That's a word we've talked about on this show today. I'm sure Alcorn State has high expectations, correct?
Yes, they do. I haven't heard one word since camp started. I haven't heard one word from a coach or a player talking about the spring. That's in the rearview mirror. What's done is done. As a former colleague once said, you can saw wood, but you can't saw sawdust. You know why? Because it's already been sawed. It's already been hammered away. So the spring is already is behind us. Yes, we didn't play. A lot of conversation about that for a while, but we're focused on the spring. I'm sorry, we're focused on the fall. The spring is behind us. So there really hasn't been any talk about that. Just looking forward to playing North Carolina Central. Just looking forward to getting back and playing football. And the expectations, moving to the Western Division and talking with the coaches, it's like it's nothing new because we play the teams in the West, with the exception of lately Texas Southern and Pine Bluff. We play Prairie View year in and year out. We haven't played Pine Bluff in a few years. We hadn't, Texas Southern either. And so that it's going to be different. But I think the expectations are still there. Grambling is going to be a tough cookie. We know Southern's going to be a tough cookie. And so the expectations are, to be competitive. And look, this team is now the hunters. We've been the hunted for the last few years. Now we're hunting. Now we're trying to get back, as Fred McNair has said and as other players have said, we're trying to get back what was ours, which was the SWAC championship. It's in Huntsville, Alabama right now, and we're trying to get that back. So that's the focus. We're not looking back at the spring. That's what happened. It just happened that way. It didn't, we didn't want it to be that way, but it happened. And so now we're focused on the fall.
We're going to do this right now. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to add AD Drew, Black Collar Sports Wrap, on this segment and give you something to think about. Charles, the second unit, the backups, it's very important. You're one injury away when someone will have to come in and be a starter or provide relief. What will be some of the biggest, I guess, some of the most important position battles in camp for the number 2 spot? Think about that and take a timeout. When we come back, it'll be more with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. We'll be joined by AD Drew. Take a quick timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black.
Whether it's advice on managing your anxiety or tools to help you stay grounded, Coping-19 provides a range of resources and self-care tips to help you cope with this pandemic. We can help. Find the resources that work best for you at coping-19.org.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
It's been difficult because I hadn't been able to see my grandchildren.
An expression on someone's face when you do something nice for them.
I miss all my friends in school.
Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision about COVID-19 vaccine.
Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
When you're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show here on the Black College Sports Network. You can now see that I'm joined by AD Drew, FAMU graduate, Tuskegee graduate. And I tell you what, FAMU, I had a humbling experience at a game when Southern played FAMU, but I'll save that for people. But it was humbling to say the least. We'll talk about that another time. Charles, we talked about those position battles for number 2 quickly. How important is that at Alcorn State? I know how it's important for other teams. And did Coach McNair in the past or even now, does he address that as far as those battles for the backup positions?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, yesterday after practice, he addressed the team and he was expressing the importance of everybody being ready, because you never know when your number's called. And if you're not ready, if you're a number 1, and if you're not ready, we're going to go with the number 2. And he basically said, if I got to take 11 on offense and 11 on defense to Atlanta to play North Carolina Central, if that's all we got, that's all we got. So I think what he's saying is the best players are going to play, the best players are going to travel, the best players are going to be out there. So he really got the message across after week 1 as we make the turn and get ready for week number 2. As far as the backups are concerned, the biggest question right now is who's going to be Alcorn State University's backup quarterback. And that was not established in the spring. And I would have to say after week 1 of camp, that still has yet to be established. In my opinion, I thought Jaron Russell, a kid who entered the transfer portal, I thought would take the lead and be the number 2 in the spring. But that didn't happen. He transferred out, and the position is still up for grabs. So the biggest question right now is if Felix Harper goes down, who's going to step up? You've got some youth there. You've got some veteran. You've got some experience there. But right now, no one is taking the bull by the horns to be that number 2 quarterback. Other than that, Carlos, I think we're pretty set in terms of our backups. I think obviously dealing with the right side of the offensive line, Felix Harper's backside being a left-handed quarterback, I think that's going to be some of the key positions right there. At right tackle and at right guard are 2 positions that offensive coordinator Elliott Ratton is looking at as far as the backups are concerned. So other than that, other than the backup QB on the right side of that line, I think we're set as far as the 1s and 2s.
I'm going to come back to you with another point I want to get across for Alcorn. AD, you talked during the break, you wanted to bring up a position on, I think you said Mississippi Valley State, and get our thoughts on it. So you have the floor, sir.
We had this discussion on Dr. Cavill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab, and we were talking about which East or West, which was going to be more competitive. I brought up the fact that all 6 teams in the East could potentially win the East, and it shouldn't surprise anybody. And somebody asked the question, even Valley? Yes, even Valley will be relevant and have an opportunity and be in the running down the stretch. So I said it on Dr. Cavill's show. I'll say it on your show. Go ahead and open up the comments. No, I'm not crazy. I'm not still on my honeymoon, and I didn't drink too much champagne after the wedding. But when Valley plays Jackson State on October 30th, they will still be in the race. And I'll tell you why. Valley is the classic trap game for every team that they have on their schedule. If you look at Valley's schedule and then you look at their opponents, they are either coming off of a tough game followed by another tough game when they play Valley, or they're coming off of, or they're going into a 2 or 3 game stretch where, okay, we're going to win this one. Then we got this tough game next week. So Valley's going to catch teams either looking ahead or banged up for the previous week, which is going to make them relevant. I'll throw it out to the floor for you guys to discuss.
Charles, that's interesting. I made a few notes as AD was talking. Valley trap game for many. Charles, I'll say this. Valley will probably be much improved, but I still think there are ways out. Yeah, they have the opportunity to do well, but I don't really see it. And I still think maybe I'm not objective enough. I try to be with the West. I think it's from top to bottom. I think the West has more heavy hitters and, 1 through 6. So I'll come back with my final point on that. But what do you think?
I think for Valley, I agree that they're not quite there yet. The one body of work that I looked at, and a lot of people looked at last year when they played Jackson State, they were in the red zone 4 times and they came up empty-handed. That was Valley's first game, and that's the body of work I look at. And of course, when we were on the eastern side, when we played Valley, they just couldn't keep a healthy quarterback. And Coach Dancy at Media Day even admitted that. Without a healthy quarterback, you don't have a chance. So I think for Valley, I think they're probably a couple of years out still. They didn't play a lot in the spring. I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be tough, but I think it's a numbers game. I think it's depth. I think that's going to be a problem for Valley. And yes, Jackson does go to Itabena, and that's going to be it's always tough to play Valley at Rice Cotton Stadium. Their fans are into it. It's a quaint atmosphere. It's just a tough place to play and win. You really have to play well. And a couple of years ago, Jackson just got out of Valley and won there. So I think Valley's a little bit ways away. I still think the West, you got Alcorn, you got Southern, you got Grambling. It's going to be tough on that Western side. It's going to be a dogfight over there. Then Prairie View could sneak up on you. Nobody's talking about Texas Southern. Then, of course, you got the Western Division champs. You can't sleep on the Western Division champs. Of course, Alabama A&M won the whole thing. So I would say that Valley will be better. They'll be more competitive. But I still think the West is where it's at, the wild, wild West, as they call it. But I'm not going to sleep on the East either. Because if Jackson State beats Florida A&M in that first game down in Miami, I think it's going to turn the Eastern Division race upside down. That's a huge game that a lot of people are sleeping on. And I told Brian Fulford that. I think a lot of people are sleeping on that game. They're looking at it as a classic as compared to the fact that it's a division game that counts. You lose that game, you're in trouble. You win that game, you could be taken off like a rocket. So I would still say the West is the best, but Valley could sneak up on some people. If you sleep on them, they could, especially at Rice Totten, pull off an upset.
I think Valley has their toughest games, if I can put it that way, at home. So that is an advantage. And to your point, yes, I could see them as a trap game for many. I give you that. But AD, you're going to have to convince, I guess, me and Charles just a little bit more.
and looking at Valley's schedule, they play Southern in Jackson. So Valley should have the crowd advantage on that one. Alcorn and Itabena, FAM, Itabena, Jackson State, Itabena, Alabama State, Itabena. So their toughest games are in Itabena. And I'm gonna throw this one out there to you. They play A&M the first Saturday in November. What happens the last Saturday in October? Magic City.
Magic City.
So once again, there's that classic trap game for Alabama A&M, because, and I had the schedule pulled up, give you just a second. Afterwards, Alabama State plays Texas Southern, followed by UAPB. Alabama A&M plays Valley, Texas Southern, UAPB to end the season. In theory, you would think A&M should start a 3-game run to go ahead and shore up the East. But in order to get to 3, you got to get 1. Trap game.
Well, it's going, no doubt about it, it's going to be competitive. And I guess it will continue to debate on social media, and people will continue to talk about East versus the West. But I will be confident saying this: it's going to be a battle. No matter what division you're in, you're going to have to bring your A game every week. And I would not want to be on a 2-game losing streak for sure. And depends on a 1-game losing streak, when and where. Do you lose that game early, or do you lose in the mid-season, middle of the conference, or the end? Someone brought it up. I don't think a team that goes undefeated in the conference, no doubt, will win it. But I don't think nobody will go undefeated. I don't think nobody. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I don't think nobody will.
No one will go winless either.
I can see a one win.
I say winless.
No,
everybody will have a win.
But I'm saying
I can see loss. There will be no goose egg.
I can see a team with 1
come November.
I can see a team with 1 win. And we were just talking about.
Drew just put it out there, Carlos. I mean, he's saying that every conference team is going to have at least 1 conference win. That means there will be no offers. There will be no goose eggs.
Correct.
That's saying something.
Okay, I misunderstood what he was saying. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah. Everybody will have at least 1 win.
And I think that's how much parity there is in the SWAC. Let's be realistic. Would it surprise you if Prairie View actually wins the West, or Grambling comes back and win the West? Y'all would be disappointed as Alcorn and Southern fans, but would it really surprise you is my question. Would you be surprised if Bethune comes and wins the East? You'll be disappointed, but you won't be surprised, because every team in the SWAC is that good where if they get on that roll, you can see them winning.
Well, I have Bethune-Cookman as my sleeper, so I would not be shocked. But,
exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Now I'll be brutally honest. I would be shocked if Texas Southern catches Lightning in the bottle and they win the West. Because
so you just proving my point. The teams that have picked to finish 5 or 6, if they win it, you're disappointed as a fan of your school, but you're not shocked. You're not surprised that they got on that run. And that could be because of an injury, favorable schedule, whatever it is. But it can happen.
And in particular, Charles, when you're talking about some teams are not where they need to be as far as vaccination, some forfeits are going to happen, I think, especially with this variant just running rampant and some people just not doing what they're supposed to. Even if you're not vaccinated, mask up. We always continue to talk about that. Go ahead, Charles, as we wrap it up.
Oh, yeah, well, to AD Drew's point about if Prairie View, would it be shocking to me if Prairie View won the West? Yes. Would it be shocking if Grambling won the West? Yes. And I'm a Grambling-nite. It would be shocking considering the overhaul of that offense on Grambling's side of the football. New OC, all across the board, we talked about that. But, to your point about the vaccinations, I was talking with some high school folks this morning, and there's already been some cancellations and rescheduling of high school games, and the high school season doesn't start for another couple of weeks. So you kind of see where it's going. Commissioner McClellan said it. There's not going to be rescheduling of these games. There's going to be forfeiture of games. And I hope everyone gets the message. I think Coach Rollins said Southern's players are about 100%. Coach McNair said at media day 88%. I think we're well over that now. I hope there's not forfeiture of games. I really don't. But let's be realistic. It's probably going to happen. I mean, the way we're going, we're trending downward big time. It's probably going to happen. Let's hope it's not your favorite team. Encourage everyone to get vaccinated and stay safe so we can play these games and enjoy SWAC football for what it is. One of the best years that we're going to have once these games are played.
Well, Charles, I had one more point to go over with you, but we can always do that next week because fall camp will still be going on. Final comments, I guess, from Charles and AD on your final comments of today's show.
I think it's going to be an exciting season if we get these games in. I mean, I think it's just great to talk about the SWAC where it is right now. I've been a part of this league since 1986. You've been around this conference, Carlos, a long time as well. I can't remember a year which has been this exciting, the hype, the build-up for a season. We just don't know what's going to happen, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to play out.
You got any closing comments?
First of all, Chad Cooper says, great show, Carlos.
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it.
And Chad's a good guy because he agrees with me. It would be nice if Valley wins some trap games.
Trap games.
Jameer Scott says, congratulations on the new show, Charles. And that's why I want to leave my final comments. Welcome to the BCSN family. I look forward to working with you and, listening to you and listening to your podcast as a part of the BCSN Pod Zone, which you see on the screen beside me, Carlos Brown Show, Brave Talk, BCSN SportsWrap, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, the pregame show, and many other shows where you don't have to go through and scramble and find all of them. Go to your favorite app, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Google, wherever, and just download BCSN Podcast, and you will find the whole family of all of our audio of our podcast, the audio version now. Still got to go to the website. Still got to go to our various pages for the video versions, but the audio versions for while y'all riding in traffic or when you're riding from game to game on Saturday, download the BCSN Pod Zone. Keep up with the family. And if you want to get the video versions, also we have our own app. Go to Google Play or the Apple App Store. Search My BCSN, and you can download our app.
Well, great information, AD. And Charles, maybe next time, one of my favorite subjects. I'm gonna shock you right now. Coach Rollins, we always talk about contracts, right? No matter what happens in this season, if I'm the director of athletics at Southern University, from just what I've seen already, I'm giving him a 3-year contract extension and a 4-year option right now, even if they fall short against Alcorn, which they better not. But did I shock you on that?
Yes, you did shock me, Carlos.
I'm not the boogeyman as far as with contracts.
You have a soft side when it comes to being the AD?
Wait a minute, say that again?
You have a soft side when it comes to becoming an AD, when you put your AD hat on, because you are a hard liner.
No, actually, I just feel confident. But no, I guess I have a little soft underbelly. But, AD, me and Charles have had numerous discussions and debates about contracts. And pretty much they'll probably want to work for Charles if he's a director of athletics more than me, because he is more liberal, I guess, as far as giving a 4 or 5 year contracts. I'm independent. No, you get it on the back end. You got to earn it. I'm fair and balanced. Wow. But I'm not a conservative, not a Republican. Anyway, we'll end the show on that one. AD shaking his head. Those contracts, oh boy, we've had some interesting conversations.
I couldn't work for you, Carlos. I'd be fired in the first 2 weeks.
Oh no, Charles. No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna micromanage. You have autonomy, complete autonomy.
He ain't gonna micromanage, he's just gonna tell you what to do.
Oh, no, AD, no. Just if you have a problem, come see me. I'm gonna be like Coach McNair said. I'm going around just making notes. I'm gonna let you do your thing. Not gonna micromanage. On that note, we appreciate everyone who tuned in, watched, and make sure you join me next Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until that time, as always, peace and God bless.